Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A disposition to be kind and forgiving. Leniency and compassion shown toward offenders by a person or agency charged with administering justice. He threw himself on the mercy of the court. The feeling that motivates compassion. Alleviation of distress, showing great kindness toward the distressed. Distributing food and clothing to the flood victims was an act of mercy. Something for which to be thankful. It was a mercy we got out alive. A disposition to be kind and forgiving. In those days, a wife had to depend on the mercifulness of her husband. Leniency and compassion shown toward offenders by a person or agency charged with administering justice. The feeling that motivates compassion. Leniency and compassion shown toward offenders by a person or agency charged with administering justice. Good weather with comfortable temperatures. The quality of compassion or consideration for others, people or animals. Lightening a penalty or excusing from a chore by judges or parents or teachers. Mercifulness as a consequence of being lenient or tolerant. A disposition to yield to the wishes of someone. Lightening a penalty or excusing from a chore by judges or parents or teachers. Mercifulness as a consequence of being lenient or tolerant. A disposition to yield to the wishes of someone. A deep awareness of and sympathy for another's suffering. The humane quality of understanding the suffering of others and wanting to do something about it. A deep awareness of and sympathy for another's suffering. Assistance in time of difficulty. Help in a difficult situation. Assistance in time of difficulty. The feeling that comes when something burdensome is removed or reduced. As he heard the news, he was suddenly flooded with relief. Sculpture consisting of shapes carved on a surface so as to stand out from the surrounding background. A change for the better. Assistance in time of difficulty. The contributions provided some relief for the victims. The act of reducing something unpleasant, as pain or annoyance. He asked the nurse for relief from the constant pain. A pause for relaxation. Someone who takes the place of another, as when things get dangerous or difficult. The condition of being comfortable or relieved, especially after being relieved of distress. He enjoyed his relief from responsibility. Aid for the aged or indigent or handicapped. He has been on relief for many years. Law, redress awarded by a court. Was the relief supposed to be protection from future harm or compensation for past injury? The act of freeing a city or town that has been besieged. He asked for troops for the relief of Atlanta. Assistance in time of difficulty. Help in a difficult situation. A desirable state. Enjoy the blessings of peace. The formal act of approving. He gave the project his blessing. The act of praying for divine protection. A short prayer of thanks before a meal. A ceremonial prayer invoking divine protection. A desirable state. A spanking breeze as a boon to sailors. Very close and convivial. Boon companions. A feeling of sympathy and sorrow for the misfortunes of others. The blind are too often objects of pity. The humane quality of understanding the suffering of others and wanting to do something about it. Share the suffering of. An unfortunate development. It's a pity he couldn't do it. Acting in a manner that is gentle and mild and even-tempered. Even in the pulpit there are moments when mildness of manner is not enough. Mercifulness as a consequence of being lenient or tolerant. Good weather with comfortable temperatures. Mercifulness as a consequence of being lenient or tolerant. Tendency to be kind and forgiving. A kind act. The quality of being warm-hearted and considerate and humane and sympathetic. Tendency to be kind and forgiving. The travel of a commuter. The act of putting one thing or person in the place of another. Law. The reduction in severity of a punishment imposed by law. A warrant substituting a lesser punishment for a greater one. The formal act of liberating someone. An interruption in the intensity or amount of something. A pause from doing something, as work. Postpone the punishment of a convicted criminal, such as an execution. A pause for relaxation. The act of reprieving, postponing or remitting punishment. A temporary relief from harm or discomfort. Accept an excuse for. A warrant granting release from punishment for an offense. The act of excusing a mistake or offense. The formal act of liberating someone. Grant a pardon to. Ford pardoned Nixon. Pull. A person, apart with 4 horses tied to his extremities, so as to execute him. In the old days, people were drawn and quartered for certain crimes. One of 4 equal parts. A quarter of a pound. The rear part of a ship. Provide housing for military personnel. A district of a city having some distinguishing character. A fourth part of a year, 3 months. Unemployment fell during the last quarter. An unspecified person. He dropped a word in the right quarter. A quarter of a hundredweight, 25 pounds. A quarter of a hundredweight, 28 pounds. A United States or Canadian coin worth 1/4 of a dollar. He fed 4 quarters into the slot machine. A unit of time equal to 15 minutes or a quarter of an hour. It's a quarter till 4. Clemency or mercy shown to a defeated opponent. He surrendered but asked for quarter. Divide by 4. Divide into quarters. Divide into quarters. Quarter an apple. Football, professional basketball, one of 4 divisions into which some games are divided. Both teams scored in the first quarter. One of 4 periods into which the school year is divided. The fall quarter ends at Christmas. One of the 4 major division of the compass. The wind is coming from that quarter. Piece of leather that comprises the part of a shoe or boot covering the heel and joining the vamp. A warrant granting release from punishment for an offense. The formal act of liberating someone. A period during which offenders are exempt from punishment. Grant a pardon to a group of people. Law. The reduction in severity of a punishment imposed by law. An interruption in the intensity or amount of something. Postpone the punishment of a convicted criminal, such as an execution. The act of reprieving, postponing or remitting punishment. A temporary relief from harm or discomfort. A warrant granting postponement, usually to postpone the execution of the death sentence. Relieve temporarily. The act of excusing a mistake or offense. Compassionate feelings that support a willingness to forgive.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.